The martial arts gym was loud that evening. Punches thudded against padded bags. Shoes squeaked sharply on the mats. Sweat, confidence, and ego hung thick in the air. At the center of it all stood Ryan, a well-known black belt with years of training and a reputation to match. He was tall, sharp-eyed, and loved being watched. Every kick landed with flair. Every move ended with a glance toward the students lining the walls. Respect followed him everywhere. So did fear. Near the corner, almost invisible, Mr. Ellis quietly swept the floor. He was a black man in his late 40s, wearing a faded janitor's uniform and worn sneakers. His movements were slow but steady, like someone with no reason to rush. He greeted people with a nod, sometimes a soft smile. Most students didn't know his name. To them, he was just part of the background. Ryan noticed him. Stopping mid-drill, Ryan smirked and pointed his glove toward the corner. "Hey," he called out loudly, "why don't you spar with me? Just for fun." The gym erupted in laughter. Students turned to look at Mr. Ellis, the broom in his hand, the dustpan at his feet. Some laughed harder. Others shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't an invitation. It was a challenge meant to humiliate. Mr. Ellis paused. He rested the broom against his shoulder and looked up slowly. "For fun?" he asked, his voice calm, almost curious. Ryan nodded, clearly enjoying himself. "Yeah, don't worry," he added, spreading his arms. "I'll go easy." The laughter faded. The room grew quiet. There was something in Mr. Ellis's eyes, not anger, not fear, but focus. A few students felt it and exchanged glances. Still, no one spoke. After a long moment, Mr. Ellis leaned the broom carefully against the wall. "All right," he said gently. "Just for fun." Murmurs spread as he stepped onto the mat. Ryan bounced lightly on his feet, grinning. The coach hesitated, then nodded. The spar began. Ryan attacked first, fast, flashy, aggressive. A quick jab, a sharp kick. Mr. Ellis moved. Not hurried, not clumsy. He shifted just enough for the strike to miss. Then another, and another. His footwork was smooth, efficient, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. Ryan's grin faltered. The gym went silent. When Ryan overcommit to a strike, Mr. Ellis stepped in, gently redirecting the motion, unbalancing him. Ryan stumbled. Gasps echoed around the room. They reset. Ryan came harder this time, stronger, faster. But each move met calm control. Mr. Ellis blocked without force, countered without cruelty. Finally, with a simple motion, he swept Ryan's leg and guided him to the mat. Not slammed, not hurt, just defeated. Mr. Ellis stepped back and offered a hand. Ryan stared up at him, stunned. The hand shook slightly, but he took it. The coach broke the silence. Who trained you?" Mr. Ellis smiled softly. "Long time ago," he said. "Discipline stays, even when titles fade." He picked up his broom and returned to the corner. No one laughed this time. They had all learned something, not about fighting, but about respect. As Mr. Ellis stepped onto the mat, whispers spread like a low hum through the room. "This is going to be quick. He doesn't even look trained." Why would he agree? Ryan heard it all and smiled. He bounced lightly on his feet, rolling his shoulders, feeding off the attention. He bowed, casual, almost mocking, like this was already over. Mr. Ellis returned the bow properly. Calm, respectful. The bell rang. Ryan exploded forward. A sharp kick cut through the air, followed by a fast punch, clean, loud, impressive. The kind of combination that made beginners flinch and spectators cheer. But something strange happened. Mr. Ellis moved. Not backward in panic. Not stiff or clumsy. He shifted at just the right angle, letting the kick pass by inches from his chest. His feet glided across the mat, quiet and balanced, like he already knew where Ryan would be. Ryan attacked again. Faster this time. Mr. Ellis redirected the strike with a light touch, guiding the force away instead of meeting it. Ryan's punch missed. Then another. The laughter stopped. The room felt different now. Students leaned forward, eyes wide. Someone dropped their water bottle without noticing. The instructor's smile faded into a focused frown. Ryan's confidence flickered. He frowned and reset his stance, breathing harder than before. "Stop messing around," he muttered, throwing a heavier strike, less flashy, more force behind it. Mr. Ellis stepped aside and gently tapped Ryan's shoulder. Point scored. Gasps echoed through the gym. That wasn't luck. That was timing. That was experience. Ryan pulled back, eyes narrowing. He circled now, slower, cautious. The crowd was silent, waiting. Ryan lunged again, tried to overwhelm him. A flurry of strikes. Power over precision. Mr. Ellis stayed calm. He blocked without strain, moving only as much as necessary. No wasted motion. No anger. When Ryan overextended, Mr. Ellis shifted inside the space, placing his hand on Ryan's chest and guiding him off balance. Ryan stumbled. Another gasp. The instructor stepped closer to the mat. Ryan straightened, frustration showing now. His breathing was uneven. The confidence he'd walked in with was slipping away, replaced by confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. He rushed in one last time. Mr. Ellis waited. At the exact moment Ryan committed, Mr. Ellis swept his leg, not hard, not dramatic, and guided him gently to the mat. Ryan landed on his back, staring at the ceiling, stunned. The bell rang again. Silence. Mr. Ellis stepped back and extended a hand. Ryan hesitated, then took it. He was pulled to his feet, cheeks flushed, not from pain, but from realization. The instructor finally spoke. "Where did you learn to move like that?" Mr. Ellis smiled softly. "A long time ago," he said. "I just never forgot the lessons." Ryan nodded slowly, humbled. "Thank you," he said quietly this time. Mr. Ellis stepped off the mat, picked up his broom, and returned to the corner. No one whispered now. They watched him with new eyes. Because that night, they didn't just see a sparring match. They learned that real strength doesn't need to show off, and true mastery doesn't need applause. Ryan's face tightened. The grin was gone now, replaced by something sharper, frustration mixed with disbelief. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was the black belt, the example, the one people watched. "This isn't fun anymore," someone whispered. Ryan heard it. It burned. He charged again, harder, faster, angrier. His movements lost their polish, replaced by raw force. Punches came heavier. Kicks snapped with intent, not control. He wanted to end this, to prove something. But Mr. Ellis stayed calm. He didn't match Ryan's speed. He didn't raise his power. He conserved energy like someone who understood time. Every block was efficient. Every redirection used Ryan's own momentum. There was no showboating, no dramatic counters, just clean, purposeful movement. The difference was impossible to ignore. Ryan was working. Mr. Ellis was waiting. Ryan threw a wide strike, fueled by frustration. Mr. Ellis stepped inside the arc, gently pressing Ryan's arm downward while shifting his weight. Then it happened. In one smooth motion, Mr. Ellis swept Ryan's leg and guided him to the mat. Not violently, not humiliatingly, just controlled. Like a teacher correcting posture, not a fighter proving dominance. Ryan hit the mat and froze. The impact wasn't painful. What hurt was the realization. The gym was completely silent. No cheers, no laughter, no whispers, just disbelief. Ryan stared at the ceiling, chest rising fast, mind racing. Years of training replayed in his head. And suddenly, he understood what he'd been missing. Strength without patience. Skill without humility. Mr. Ellis stepped back, giving him space. Then he extended a hand. "Easy," he said quietly. "You're tense. That makes you predictable." The words landed heavier than the fall. Ryan hesitated. For a moment, pride fought back. But then he reached up and took the hand. Mr. Ellis pulled him to his feet with surprising steadiness. Ryan stood slower this time, breathing controlled, eyes lowered. Not in shame, but in thought. The instructor stepped forward but said nothing. He didn't need to. Ryan turned to Mr. Ellis and bowed. Not the casual bow from earlier. Not the mocking one. This one was deep. Still. Sincere. It wasn't respect for winning. It was respect for understanding. "I forgot why I started training," Ryan said quietly. "Thank you, sir." Mr. Ellis smiled. Not proudly, not smugly. Just kindly. "We all forget sometimes," he replied. "That's why we practice." He stepped off the mat, picked up his broom, and returned to the corner like nothing extraordinary had happened. But everything had changed. The students didn't rush back to training. They watched him now, not as a janitor, not as a mystery, but as a reminder. That mastery doesn't need an audience. That real confidence doesn't shout. Ryan returned to the mat and bowed again, this time to the room. That night, the gym learned something deeper than technique. They learned that true power is quiet, and the strongest lessons come from the most unexpected teachers. The instructor stepped forward, breaking the heavy silence that still hung in the air. "Mr. Ellis," he said carefully, his tone different now, measured, respectful. "Where did you learn to move like that?" For the first time that evening, Mr. Ellis looked a little uncomfortable. He scratched the back of his neck and gave a small, almost shy smile. "Long time ago," he said, "I trained when I was younger. Competed too." He paused, eyes drifting briefly toward the mat. "Life just took me another way." The room erupted in murmurs. Whispers bounced off the walls. Students exchanged wide-eyed looks. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others replayed every careless comment they'd made in their minds, wishing they could pull the words back. Ryan stood frozen. "You competed?" he asked, stunned. "Then why didn't you ever say anything?" Mr. Ellis shrugged lightly, as if the answer were obvious. "No one asked," he said, "and I didn't need to prove anything." The words landed like a strike to the chest. Not loud, not aggressive, but impossible to ignore. The students felt it too. A slow, uncomfortable realization spread through the gym. They had laughed. They had whispered. They had decided who Mr. Ellis was based on a uniform, a broom, and his quiet nature. And they had been wrong. Ryan swallowed hard. His shoulders dropped, not in defeat but in honesty. He took a breath and stepped forward. "I'm sorry," he said, voice clear and sincere. "I disrespected you. No excuses. No jokes. No ego left to protect." The gym held its breath. Mr. Ellis met his eyes and nodded once. "Apology accepted," he said. Then, after a brief pause, he added gently, "Just remember, skill doesn't always announce itself." Ryan nodded slowly, committing the words to memory. The instructor cleared his throat. "If you ever want to teach," he said carefully, "our doors are open." Mr. Ellis smiled, grateful but firm. "I appreciate that, but I'm happy where I am." That surprised them almost as much as the sparring match. As Mr. Ellis returned to his broom, the gym didn't return to normal. Training resumed, but the energy had changed. Movements were quieter. Bowing was deeper. Laughter was softer, more respectful. Students nodded at Mr. Ellis as they passed him. Some thanked him. Others simply bowed. Ryan stayed after class, practicing slowly, focusing on balance instead of power, breath instead of speed. Every so often, he glanced toward the corner where Mr. Ellis worked, not as a reminder of embarrassment, but as a reminder of purpose. That night, the gym learned something no belt could teach. That titles don't define mastery. That silence can hold wisdom. And that respect should come before judgment, not after a lesson forces it. Mr. Ellis finished sweeping, turned off the lights, and walked out quietly. But the lesson he left behind stayed. Long after the mats were rolled up and the echoes of punches faded away. From that day on, everything changed in the gym, but not in the way anyone expected. Ryan still arrived early. He still trained hard, but the way he moved was different now. There was less flash, less noise. His punches were cleaner, his kicks more controlled. He listened more than he spoke. When newer students struggled, he helped instead of showing off. The ego that once filled the room had been replaced with focus. And people noticed. The students changed too. They bowed more sincerely. They laughed less at others' mistakes. They trained with purpose instead of pride. And whenever Mr. Ellis passed by with his broom, conversations softened. Heads nodded. Respect followed him quietly. Some students even worked up the courage to ask him questions. "How did you stay so calm? How did you know where Ryan would move? How do you train your patience like that?" Mr. Ellis always answered the same way. Simply, no long speeches, no lectures. "Practice," he'd say. "Pay attention. Breathe." Then he'd smile and return to his work. Mr. Ellis didn't change. He still swept the floors at the end of every class. Still wore the same faded uniform. Still showed up on time and left quietly. He didn't start correcting stances unless asked. He didn't mention his past. He didn't claim credit for the shift in the gym's atmosphere because he had nothing to prove. That was the real lesson. It wasn't about who won the spar.